Good morning, class. All right, so here we are on our novel, Goosebumps, Slappy World, Revenge of the Invisible Boy by R.L. Stine. And I read for you last chapter 14. And it left off, Frankie is invisible. He's been invisible a lot longer than he had planned. And the whole reason Frankie is invisible is because they tried to prank Ari. And the prank went wrong. Frankie ended up drinking the lemonade. And here we are. Frankie's not so happy. He tackled Ari. Ari was on the ground. And the teachers see something very strange. They've asked the teachers to help. So what is the recommendation from the teachers? All you have to do is tickle him, Miss Barlow said. That works every time. Doesn't it, Mr. Sheen? Every time, he said. She reached out both hands and moved her fingers, tickling the air. Tickle, 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 she cried. Mr. Sheen joined in, making tickling motions with both hands. Then both teachers walked off, laughing. They stopped at the corner and turned back to us. Where did Frankie's voice come from? Mr. Sheen shouted. Oh, I know. From your phone, right? Very clever, Miss Barlow said. They crossed the street and faded from sight. They didn't believe us, Melody said. Sorry, Frankie. Yeah, sorry, Frankie, Ari said sarcastically. But I've got to get home. He climbed onto his bike. Glad you liked my mom's lemonade. He tossed his head back and hee-hawed like a donkey. Then he furiously pedaled away. He poisoned me, I said, and then he just rides away laughing his head off. You tried to poison him, Melody replied. What if your plan had worked? How bad would you feel if you made Ari invisible and he couldn't come back? Not very, I said. I just thought of something, Eduardo said. Tomorrow is class photo day at school. You're kidding me, I cried. Tell me that isn't true. I'm going to be invisible in my class photo. Maybe you'll come back before tomorrow, Eduardo said. Maybe I won't, I said. This isn't fair. It isn't fair. Who wants to be invisible in his class photo? They both stared at where they thought I was standing. They didn't know what to say. I let out a long moan. I couldn't help it. I was getting really upset. Being invisible had been a lot of fun for an hour. A lot of laughs. But I didn't feel like laughing anymore. It was time to get back to my real life. I moaned again. What am I going to do? I cried. Go back to Mystical Marvin, Melody said. Yeah, she's right, Eduardo chimed in. He's the only one who can bring you back. We should have thought of it sooner, Melody said. He'll know exactly what to do. You can stop being upset, Eduardo said. He'll get you back in no time. I hesitated. But he'll know I stole some of his formula. Maybe he'll be too angry to help me. That's dumb, Melody said. He'll help you even if he is angry. He'll feel sorry for you. Let's go to the theater, Eduardo said. He pulled up my bike from the grass and waited for me to climb on. I sat down and curled my hands around the handlebars. I'm starting to feel better, I said. You're right. We should have thought of this sooner. Melody and Eduardo climbed onto their bikes, and we began to ride toward the town center. It was nearly dinner time. Cars jammed the streets. Evening rush hour. People driving home after their jobs. Of course, we got a lot of attention from people in cars. We were riding single file along the curb. My bike was in the middle. But no one on the bike. Cars honked and people shouted at us. One car squealed to a stop and 4 passengers stuck out their heads. they stuck out their heads out of the windows to gawk at us. I kept my eyes straight ahead. It would have been a riot to watch, but there was nothing funny about this anymore. I had only one thing on my mind: getting to the theater and asking Mystical Marvin to reverse the potion and make me visible again. The town center wasn't far from our neighborhood, but to me the trip seemed to take hours. Finally, we rolled up in front of the theater. I let my bike fall to the sidewalk and hurried up to the entrance doors. Melody and Eduardo were close behind me. I peered through the glass doors. The box office inside was dark. The whole entry hall was dark. A large poster stood at the side of the entrance. It showed Mystical Marvin in his billowing red cape. He had a magic wand perched in his hand. His blue eyes appeared to glow above his smile. I walked over to the poster. A yellow banner had been strung across the front, and on the banner, in big black type, were the words, "Performance canceled." Why? Where was Mystical Marvin? Chapter 16. I read the two words over and over. Melody and Eduardo stared at the poster beside me. "No show tonight?" Eduardo said. "Let's see what's up," I said. I moved to the entrance door and tried to pull them open. They were locked. "We can go to the dressing room entrance in the back," I said. "Maybe that door is open. If it isn't, we can shout for someone to let us in." We walked our bikes to the alley at the side of the theater. Several trash cans were lined up along the low stone wall across from the theater. We edged our way past them and followed the alley toward the back. The sun had gone down and the alley was dark. Melody and Eduardo's long shadows moved beside them. I didn't have a shadow. That made me feel sad and even more frightened. I stopped in front of a narrow metal door cut into the side of the theater. "Let's try it," I said. The door didn't have a handle or a doorknob. I found a narrow opening. I slid my fingers in and pulled the door open. I leaned forward and peered in. I could see the rows of seats in the theater. We were at one of the side exits. "Let's go," I said. We stepped into the theater. The auditorium was completely dark. The stage was lit by a single lamp on a pole in the center. It took a few seconds for my eyes to adjust. "It smells so stale in here," I murmured. My voice sounded muffled in the giant space. "Maybe they don't ever clean it," Melody whispered. "It's a very old theater," Eduardo said. "My grandfather said he used to come here when he was a boy." I turned and gazed at the stage, and it was still set up for Mystical Marvin's act. The red curtain was pulled open. The water tank stood still near the wings. I turned and gazed at the stage. It was still set up for Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, you guys. I let out a long sigh of relief. "At least his stuff is still here," I said. "That means he'll be back." "Anybody here?" Melody called in a loud voice. I jumped. I wasn't expecting her to shout. "Hello, anybody here?" Her voice rang off the high walls. Silence. "No one here," whispered Eduardo. "Maybe we should come back later. No," I said. "We have to look backstage. Maybe he's back there." I started to the narrow passageway that led past the stage. "Follow me." "We can't follow you," Melody said. "Did you forget?" I let Melody lead the way backstage. Dim light washed over the area from one of the dressing rooms. The chest of props we had seen before had been pushed up against one wall. A row of auditorium seats were lined up beside it. A giant red ball sat in one of the seats. A large poster of King Kong was tilted against another wall. No sign of Mystical Marvin. "Anyone here?" Melody called again. "Hello!" I let out a cry as something bumped me. Something scrambled over my shoes. I tripped over it. I caught myself before I fell. I peered down. A fat mouse was running toward the dressing rooms. It couldn't see me, so it ran right over my foot. Ugh. "Frankie, what's your problem?" Eduardo turned to where he thought I was standing. "You two aren't afraid of mice, are you?" I replied. "No," they both said. "Good," I said. I heard a clattering sound. It came from the open dressing room. "Hey, someone there?" I trotted over to it. Melody and Eduardo were close behind me. "Whoa!" I saw the janitor at Mystical Marvin's dressing table. The same old guy Melody and I saw before after the performance. He wore his gray work uniform. The shirt was open, revealing a white t-shirt underneath. His long gray hair fell over his forehead as he worked. He had a roll of paper towels and a can of some kind of spray cleaner. He was wiping down the top of the dressing table. He stopped and gazed at Melody and Eduardo, his face twisted in surprise. "Can I help you?" he asked in a gravelly, hoarse voice. "Can I help you?" "We're here to talk to Mystical Marvin," Melody said. The man's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "How'd you get in here?" "The side door was open," Eduardo said. The janitor climbed to his feet. "You shouldn't be in here if you're looking for autographs." "No, we don't want autographs," Melody said. We need to see Mystical Marvin. It's a real emergency." The man rubbed his stubbly white whiskers. "I'm the only one here," he said. "I have to ask you to leave. The show is canceled." "But is he nearby?" Eduardo said. "When is he coming back?" "I don't know. You're out of luck." "It's really important," Melody said, her voice rising. "Please, don't you know where he is?" The man shook his head. "No one does." "Excuse me?" Eduardo said. "No one knows where he is?" "He disappeared," the janitor replied. "You mean he quit the show?" Eduardo asked. "No, he disappeared." The man picked up his roll of paper towels and the can of cleaner. "I'm telling you the truth. I saw him take a drink from the little glass bottle, and then he disappeared. Flash! Disappeared. I saw it with my own eyes." "And you don't know where he went?" Melody demanded. "No, not a clue. No one knows where he is. He disappeared after Saturday's show, and he never came back." Slappy here, everyone. What did the doctor say when the invisible man came to his office? "Sorry, I can't see you." Didn't Mystical Marvin ever hear the old saying, "The show must go on"? Maybe he thinks people won't come to a magic show when you can't see who's doing the tricks. Is Mystical Marvin finished in show business? Is Frankie just plain finished? We'll see. Or maybe we won't see. Until next time.